everybody, welcome to another episode of Real Talks, where we ask real questions about real estate. We got our boy Quach here again today, who's gonna fire off a question as usual. So what you got for us today?
So Kevin, real talk. In this industry, I know that if you are a top producing agent, you've been in the industry long enough, and you have enough, business. You do enough business. You're bound to have an expired listing.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about expired listing, what they are?
You're talking to the wrong agent. I don't have expired listings. No, so basically an expired listing is a property that you list and it does not sell. I've had plenty of those in my careers. Of course, less is better.
Okay.
But basically, whenever we list a property, we're contractually obligated to list and sell that property for a specific amount of time. Typically, I would like at least a 90-day contract. So from the time I list, I have 90 days to sell your property. If I do not sell your property, you don't owe me any commission. You don't owe me anything. I lose money basically at that deal, because at that point I've paid for marketing costs, my time spent in the transaction as well too. But yeah, every once in a while I'll have a transaction where it goes expired. I don't want that to happen. I think, usually the biggest reason why a property will not sell is typically going to be price. It's probably overpriced for what it's worth. The market has basically indicated that based off of the price that you're asking for, nobody is willing to pay for it. So I think it comes down to having tough conversations with sellers, because sellers are always going to think their property is worth a certain amount.
Right.
And sometimes they're really stuck to that price too.
So when a property expires, is it the agent's fault or is it the seller's fault?
I wouldn't really place a blame on anybody, because one, the agent was willing to take the transaction. If the agent did their job correctly, they'll know with a very high percentage based off of the price that the seller wants whether they're going to sell it or not. I've always been a big believer, if you're going to commit to something, then you got to hold your end of the bargain. The question is whether you can perform or not at the end of the day. If it's too far beyond the stretch for me, being in the business for however long I've been in the business, I'm probably not going to take the listing in today's world. You would have asked me that 15 years ago, I probably wouldn't have known better, and I would have just took the listing because I had nothing else.
Gotcha.
But the older you get, I was very young when I started this business, time is valuable. We cannot get time back. Mm-hmm. I don't care how old you are, time keeps moving forward. It does not stop. And you can't go back in time.
Right. So I don't know if you recall the last expired listing you had, but what went wrong there, and what did you learn? What did you learn from that transaction? Last expired listing was the one on Sierra Madre Villa. Okay, the one in Pasadena.
It was in Pasadena, which was it was a very unique mid-century home.
Yeah.
It was really cool what the sellers did. The sellers did some really cool things, but then, they had the old Louvre windows. You had this circular area, which made it very unique. I really thought the price that I came up with was really feasible. Mm-hmm. Maybe I had fallen in love with the property more than I should have, which I almost became like the seller. This is an overinflated price that I thought was realistically possible. But originally when I took the deal, when I met with the owners, I said, this is the price that I think we can get. They had agreed to it as well too. And the market kind of spoke for itself. It didn't sell.
Gotcha. Yeah. Was there any during that transaction, any way to save that deal? Did you guys receive an offer that was okay?
Just like in many listings, the hottest part is that first 2 weeks. So that first 2 weeks, we probably had a couple of pretty interested people. Nobody put paper to pen though, which is like the crazy part. And I even remember on that deal at the last minute, there was another offer that we were trying to put together. It didn't end up panning out, but Yeah, no physical actual offers, and that was like a good indication that, hey, maybe we could have done a price reduction. We did do a price reduction, but it wasn't big enough to garner enough interest.
Gotcha.
And sometimes it's a little bit of fear too, because sometimes you have clients that are very specific in what they want and how they want things. And sometimes, if we don't express our side the way we should, it could affect the transaction, which that one it did.
Gotcha. So going back to it, just what you learned from it is really pricing. Make sure that you price it well. Making sure that within that first 2 weeks, as you mentioned, getting the most exposure for that property and really utilizing that time and see what the market says about the property rather than putting it at a high price and trying to just wish and pray to get an offer.
The simplest way that I could probably put it is, the data is always typically going to be the data. The market's going to be the market, whatever situation that we're in. But let's just say, for example, a house is worth $500,000. Am I going to get more attention if I list it for $1, or am I going to get more attention if I list it for $1 million? We all know that it's worth $500,000, but if you list it for $1, everybody is going to be like, why is this house listed for $1? What is wrong with it? Why is this such a great deal? If you list it for $1 million, what are most people going to say? They're just like, well, this is overpriced. Those people are crazy.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to want to come and see it. So that's why I come up with an approach, like the more aggressive you can become with pricing, the more eyeballs you're going to get on the property, which should in return turn to more offers on your property. And when you can have 10 offers to work with compared to 2 offers to work with, you, the seller, you're now in the driver's seat.
Well, appreciate you sharing that. I know in this industry, we, a lot of our peers trying to, make it seems like, picture perfect agent who never mess up. But I know in this industry, there's always certain things hurdles that come along the way. And appreciate you shared that, keeping it real with real talk.
It's real talks. Thank you everybody for listening in on this episode. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, you know what to do. Leave them below. See you guys next time.